Today I'm going to show you the newest addition to the Herbal database, a course on using herbs for hormone balance. Now this is the opening screen once you're logged in, and if you're new to the database, be sure to watch this tutorial video first, and you can also scroll down for written instructions on how to use it. Now how do we find the course? If you look over to the left-hand side, things are color-coded, and at the very top you'll see Hormone course, and you could click on that. But another way to find it, let's say you've been using other areas of the database and you want to get to it quickly, you can go up here to the pins, click on the pins, and down here is the Hormone course. So let's get started. You're going to see an overview on the right-hand side of the entire course. Here are the objectives. I'll go through those, understanding the endocrine system and how herbs interact with key hormones, explore evidence-based effects of common herbs on hormonal pathways, learn safe practices for herbal use, including dosages, contraindications, and interactions, and, of course, apply your knowledge through case studies and personal experimentation. Then critically evaluate scientific research on herbal medicine. There are some simple prerequisites. First of all, you will need access to basic herbal supplies, like teas and tinctures, and a journal for tracking. You'll need a subscription to the Ultimate Herbal Database because that's where this course is located. Optional, but it's recommended, if you're in the Fayetteville area or can get to Fayetteville, we have a monthly Herbal Roundtable where we play a game based on, this year, hormones. And we have a potluck. Here is the overview. I'm just going to go through this quickly. We have the first module. And by the way, since it's self-study, you can go through this as quickly or slowly as you want. It could last a whole year because there's 12 modules. So we start out with foundations of hormones and herbal medicine. The objective here is to build a baseline understanding of the endocrine system and the history of herbalism in hormonal health. Here are the key topics, and here are some readings. There are activities for each module. Next, we have herbs for estrogen balance. We can examine herbs that modulate estrogen levels and their role in reproductive health. Key topics here are estrogen's functions and imbalances. We go through key herbs and mechanisms. There are always going to be readings and additional resources and activities. Module 3 is on progesterone and cycle regulation. The objectives are to explore herbs supporting progesterone for menstrual regularity. What are progesterone's role in the luteal phase and fertility? And then, of course, key herbs, cycle tracking with herbal support, resources, activities. I think I'm going to just go ahead and pull up one of these modules just so you can see what it looks like. Let's take module number 2. And you'll see the lessons are numbered, 1, 2, and 3. Here we've got the objectives, key topics, readings and resources, and activities. I'm going to click on key herbs for estrogen balance. So we have a definition, and then we're going to get into how herbs modulate estrogen pathways. So there are phytoestrogenic herbs. These contain plant-based compounds. And again, these are links. So click on those if you don't know what lignans are, or you don't know what isoflavones are. And if you don't know what an estrogen receptor is, you can click on this. So here we have a chart that shows an herb, what the key compounds are, what kind of activity it has on estrogen receptors, and what is the clinical use. So red clover, for example, contains isoflavones, genisteins, and daidzein. It is a weak estrogen receptor agonist, and it's used in menopausal symptoms and for bone health. I'm going to scroll down, and you're going to often have pairing tips, so we can formulate combinations that are going to get the job done. So an example here is combine flax with probiotic ferments to enhance lignin conversion through gut flora. Example, kefir plus flax plus rosehip. Then also, how do we clear excess estrogen and detoxify? And here we've got herbs that support liver detoxification, methylation, and estrogen metabolite clearance that's helpful in estrogen dominance. Again, if you don't know what that is, just click on it. So that's what these herbs are good for, is detoxifying estrogen. There's a little note that estrogen detoxification through the feces. So if people aren't defecating regularly, they may have a problem with estrogen dominance. Look at hydration, magnesium supplementation, and other things that can help the gut. And then we've got a protocol. So there are a lot of protocols throughout this course. This is a clear and calm protocol, and its focus is on excess estrogen, hepatic or liver overload, and systemic inflammation. The core botanicals that are used here are turmeric, schizandra, and dandelion. You'll see here the pathways and what those herbs do and how are they delivered. So, for example, if you want to make a decoction with turmeric, root slices plus black pepper, if you're going to use schizandra, use whole berries or powdered berries, dandelion root or leaf, and then we go through these different types of formats. We can modify this according to the season. So for spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And then here is a kind of a quiz to help you dial in how you want to use this. So there are questions here about what symptoms you're experiencing, and most often. Okay. How would you describe your current hormonal pattern? And so all of this is to help you dial in the best combination of best herbs. And here's how to interpret this guide. Next, you can align your quiz results with recipes, remedies, and tracking logs based on the season and your physiological state. But look, you can't see everything, so let me show you what to do. If you take your mouse and put it on this line, you'll see how you can pull it over to see more of it. And I'll just go ahead and leave that open for now. So we see in the springtime, your focus is going to be dandelion, nettle, and cleavers. And here's suggested recipes, various remedies, and tracking logs to use. So it goes through the seasons. And each log can include other things like symptom severity sliders, which you can work on. Next, we've got estrogen receptor blockers and modulators. And so these herbs modulate receptor sensitivity or act as selective estrogen receptor modulators, or SERMs. Click on that to find out what those are. So here we see Vitex, black cohosh, green tea, and there is more information about selective estrogen receptors. Here's a protocol twist. You could combine green tea with rosemary and citrus peel for a protective polyphenol matrix. And then we cover uterine and endometrial tonics. So these herbs don't directly modulate estrogen, but they enhance tissue responsiveness or resilience. And here's a ferment fusion. And then we still have more. There is a branching logic chart, symptom-based estrogen receptor modulation. So what are your symptoms? How do you modulate them? And here, this will explain everything. And then that is going to cover both estrogen excess and deficiency. And here's a seasonal rotation guide for modulation. This is a little technical. And then finally we have a summary table of herbs that work with estrogen. Next, we move into dosages, recommended dosages, etc. So this finally takes you to a quiz. When you click on that, you can take a quiz to evaluate what you've learned. Now I'm going to show you a way to quickly backtrack. If you go to the search box and click, you will see below recent thoughts. Those are the topics that you've already looked at, and we're going to click on the first one, Hormone course, and continue where we left off, going through the course outline. I think we touched on progesterone and cycle regulation. Module 4 is on testosterone and androgen modulation. Then we get into thyroid hormones and metabolism, stress hormones, cortisol, and adrenals. Then liver support for hormonal detoxification, herbs for menopause and perimenopause, specific conditions like PCOS and infertility. Then we get into safety, interactions, and research evaluation. Module 11 is on practical applications and case studies, and then advanced topics and future directions. So that is the course. If you decide you'd like to join us on a video call, use the contact form and let me know when you started the course what your contact information is so that I can get a hold of you and give you the schedule. To become a subscriber to the database, just go to herbaldatabase.org and you'll see here where it says easy sign up. It's $15 a month or $100 a year, and there is so much more in the database than you've seen in this video. Once you're signed up, the contact form will appear at the top on the menu.